Welcome to Highlight Your Healing. I'm Shannon Roan, grief coach and founder of J&J Journals. This podcast is for women navigating grief and learning to heal with faith. And if you're listening in today, there's probably a good chance something in your life doesn't quite look the way you thought it would. And maybe you haven't even said it out loud yet. Because when we think of grief, we usually think of the death of a loved one, a funeral, or loss of something that we can put a name or a date to. But this type of grief, it shows up when life takes a turn you didn't plan for. And suddenly, you're standing in a reality that feels unfamiliar. Grieving the life you thought you'd have. Let's talk about it. This grief shows up when you imagine yourself being married by a certain age, and you're not. You thought motherhood would look one way, and it looks completely different. You expected your body and your health to cooperate, and now you have to think about things you never had to think about before. You assumed your career would be straightforward, and instead, it stalled, shifted, or just never took off. You pictured your life in one way, and now you're living something else entirely different. See, nothing ended in this big dramatic way, but something changed, and that change still hurts. See, the reason this grief is so hard to talk about is because it doesn't feel like you're allowed to talk about it. There's no sympathy card for this kind of loss. There's no sorry for your loss. No one says, I'm sorry your life didn't turn out the way you hoped. So instead, you stay quiet. You may even tell yourself, well, I guess this is just how life is. It could always be worse. And you just move on, or at least you try. See, for me, I think this type of grief showed up after my pregnancy losses. I didn't just grieve the babies I lost. I grieved the version of pregnancy I had imagined for myself. The excitement of being pregnant. The innocence and the idea that my body would just do what it was supposed to do. And then later, after the trauma, after the emergency surgery, and after my sense of safety was taken, I realized something. I wasn't just grieving moments. I was grieving the life I had planned for myself. I was grieving the idea that life would follow a certain order if I did all of the right things. And when that order fell apart, I didn't just feel sad. I felt like a failure. You can literally look at your life and say, I'm blessed. I'm thankful. I know God has been good to me, and still feel disappointed. You can still feel heartbroken. Still feel like something is missing. And that can make you feel guilty because nobody teaches us that gratitude and grief can exist at the same time. But they do. See, you can love your life and still grieve what it's not. You can also be thankful and still wish things had gone differently. You can be moving forward and still feel like the weight of everything that didn't happen. But that doesn't make you ungrateful. See, grieving the life you expected, sometimes it looks like feeling irritated when people ask certain questions or avoiding conversations that remind you of those things that you hoped for. Or feeling disconnected from old dreams, but not sure of what to replace it with. Or even watching other people live out those same dreams that you had. See, this grief hits so deep because it's tied to your identity, who you thought you'd be by now, how you imagined showing up in the world, or what you thought your life would look like or feel like on an average Monday. And when life doesn't go as planned, it can feel like you lost yourself along the way. And suddenly, you're not just adjusting to circumstances, you're trying to figure it out. Who am I now? What do I want now? What part of me still fits this life? And that can be confusing and exhausting. See, a lot of us, we avoid this grief because it feels uncomfortable. there's no closure to this type of grief, no clean ending, right? There's no moment where you can say, okay, that's done, and you can check the box. So instead, we try to stay busy, or we pour ourselves and give ourselves 100% at work and to taking care of everyone else and to being productive. But grief doesn't disappear just because we don't name it. It waits. And it shows up later as burnout, as resentment, sadness, or numbness. So I want you to give yourself permission to grieve the life you prepared for, the timeline you expected, those dreams that didn't survive the season, or the version of yourself you thought you'd be by now. And when you're healing from this kind of grief, it doesn't mean pretending that nothing changed. It doesn't mean that, trying to force yourself to be positive about where things are now. But what it does mean is being honest about what you lost. It means admitting that this hurts. And this is not what I planned. And then slowly, not overnight because it'll take some time, but slowly learning how to live again inside a life that you didn't choose. And if this is resonating with you right now, I want you to think about this. What part of your life feels different than you expected? What do you miss? What did you assume would happen by now? So I want you to grab your journal and write down what emotions comes up as you're reflecting on those questions. See, here's what I've learned is grieving the life you thought you'd have can open space for a life you didn't see coming. It may not necessarily be, better or worse than you had imagined, but just different. And sometimes that different life brings strength you didn't know you had, or even perspective you didn't ask for, even though you wish you didn't have to learn it in this way. But you don't get there by skipping the grief. You get there by letting it exist. So if this episode put words to something you've been carrying quietly, I want you to know that you're not wrong for grieving what didn't happen. And healing doesn't mean forgetting the life you thought you'd have. It means learning how to live fully in the life you have now without shaming yourself for what you lost. Thank you for listening today. If this episode spoke to you, share it with a woman who might be grieving something she's never said out loud. And if you haven't already, it would really mean a lot if you left a comment and a 5-star review. It helps the next woman find this space and the hope she's been looking for. And until next time, be gentle with yourself. You don't have to rush this. And continue to highlight your healing.